Hello everyone, welcome to the weekly Scholar Strategy Review. I'm going to dive right in. So, AUD/USD, let's go over as to why I wouldn't have taken any trades this week, okay? So, I do mention that when all these lines are kind of bunched up together like this, not great trading potential, okay? And as you see, from Sunday, it opened up in a gap. Now I'm going to switch it over to the 1 hour to show you. All right. So right here, where it closed off on Friday, and then Sunday it opened up way down here. Okay, that shows a lot of instability and a big gap to fill. So it will eventually come up to this area. It'll just take a little while. And over here just seemed like it took about 2 days to close off that gap, right? Just. And then it kind of hesitated a little bit before moving upwards. Right, just a little Fibonacci drawing right here from the bottom to the top. You can see that the 618 was definitely in place several times before climbing higher. Now, strictly speaking on the strategy itself, didn't take any trades. Okay, this was too messy to be able to actually enter on a proper trade, even though the larger lines are moving upwards. The trouble is all the little guys are bunched up together. So this was a total mess. No trades should have been taken on this. Maybe when they started separating here, but at that point, this would have been the safest one, and nothing came close. And then, as you saw, this would have just been a total crapshoot. So I don't like to base trades off of that, right? Especially because of how the week is already going. Halfway through the week to jump in on a couple trades near the end would have just been messy anyway, and I'm glad I didn't, right? These all would have been losses because as soon as the buy would have been triggered, as everything's pointing up, would have dropped down. So good judgment on that and no trades taken. USD CAD. So as you can see, another good example of what not to jump in on. Okay, let's see. So Sunday was right here, and everything's still bunched together. You could, this is just a mess. It's crossing up and down on the longer EMAs. Stayed out of that as well. Not worth it at all, right? This is very risky taking trades based off of this. Sunday wouldn't have even triggered. A gap opened upwards. On Monday, when this pivot line opened up, potential win could have been taken. But again, I stayed out of this as well just because of how tightly they're all bunched up, right? Don't like to see this sort of thing. And as you can see, 45 pips, where are we at? About that, let's say. Okay, so that would have been a good trade. This would have been a loss. That would have been a no-go. This would have been a loss. This one would have been break even, no trade. Depending on what your broker spread is, I mean, that could have been a loss, right? I mean, if we're right on there, and I'm going to zoom in to get that 15 pips exactly. Let's double click on this guy, actually. All right, that's how we can actually set it. Let's see, 152150. There we go. 450. There you go. So as far as entry is concerned, where would have entry been? Somewhere around here. So realistically, if entry was taken right out there, very volatile, maybe would have triggered immediately. Let's see on the 30-minute. Yep, that would have been a win, actually. Right? It's just, again, like I said, it's a very messy trade to jump in on. Like, it's just too volatile all over the place, right? Even if you miss that first trade in, trying to get it back down would have been a loss. So regardless of that fact, AUD/USD and USD CAD I stayed out of. Looked very choppy. Not something that I recommend anybody take trades on because the EMAs are so bunched up and close together. CAD JPY. Look at this. Like this is what I'd want to be looking at for trades. All right, so let's count how many there was, because this is a textbook example of how the scholar strategy will be effective. Okay, so let's look. Let's grab this one. Sunday position would have been right here. Look at this, beautiful. 15 pips, 45 for TP. And as you can see, it just kept running, so it would have been even better. Okay, I'll just zoom in on this. There we go. Okay, so that's one. This one, as soon as it's jumped in on, probably not the greatest idea, right? Because it was moving upwards. So if it's going counter trend and everything's pointing down, I'm going to wait until it kind of stops off and take a sell stop. So this one would have been a break even. This one would have been a loss. A loss, let's see, would it have been a loss? If we jump in right here, yeah, that would have been a loss, okay? That would have been a no trade. That would have been a loss right here. This one would have been break even. So far 2 losses and a break even and a win. So we're up 1-1, no trade, and winner right there. Okay, so you know, it does look like a textbook move. Unfortunately, the pivot lines are really screwy in where they appeared. It's too bad, right? I mean, this would have been a lot nicer if it appeared, let's say, or even this line would have been better if it just appeared at the tip there. But you know what? It was pretty close regardless. And you know, this one out in no man's land, that was pretty close as well. These are the trends you want to look for when taking trades. Even though there was only 2 winners and 2 losses, that's still up 4-1. Again, trouble is no man's land where these pivot lines formed, right? If this would have formed, let's say, an hour or 2 earlier, that would have been great to grab everything there. This one, it would have been a late snag, trying to get it in midnight or later. You know, not a great situation to be in, right? The only time it would have been viable would be right there at, for me, it would have been 1 in the morning, so 3 a.m. Eastern. So unfortunate, but still, this is the trend line you want to look for. As you can see, perfectly spread up, pivot lines. The only trouble is if they form on top of each other, that's a good indication to stay out. When they start forming like this, you know, one below the other as the trend continues, that's a great place to enter as the pivot line forms. All right, so overall 4-1 so far. Euro USD, pretty choppy. Pardon me, pretty choppy, similar to AUD USD. Let's see if there was anything worth taking, right? So Sunday, as you see, as it opened up, you know, taking a buy, that would not have triggered until 1 in the morning, which is already a place where the orders cut off. Here, would it have been a buy? Probably not. Like, this is the situation, right, where I'll set it to the 30 minutes just to give you an example, where it's this choppy from Sunday going all the way up, peaking, and then starting to drop. The only possible entry this would have been, if we're following all EMAs, would have been a buy stop. So just let it keep going, and then once it reverses to trigger upwards on the trade. But this kept going down, right? So as you can see, counter trend trades, lines are bunched up. This is not great places to take entries by any means. However, you know, let's say for instance that there was some trades that were taken. All trades would have been on buys. There shouldn't have been any sells taken. So let's set up our template approximately there. All right. So let's see. First trade wouldn't have been even taken because this happened too late at night. This trade would have been a no-go. This trade would have been break even, just because it went 15 pips in profit first before dropping back down. This trade would have been a break even, right? 15 pips in profit before dropping back down. This trade would have been, fortunately, a break even because it went up 15 pips before coming back down to the entry line, as you can see, right? 20 pips up, then dropped, and then eventually hitting profit. Once it hit here, this one would have been a loss. However, if, you know, brave enough to take a second entry there, that would have been profit right there, because it was not 15 pips in profit at first. When it went up, it was only 13.8, so it dropped down, and then profit hit later on. So far, we're looking at 2 profits and 1 loss, so not too shabby for lines being kind of all over the place, right? This would have been a profit. It came super close the first time, but it didn't actually hit the pivot line, as you can see, right? It only hit it later on. So this would have been an entry. It would have snagged it right there and then right up into profit. So that's great. This one right here, break even. And then this one right here, where it's going, shouldn't have even been a trade that's taken because the pivot line formed below the previous one. Okay, so overall, even though it looked messy, this was a pretty decent pair to take trades on. That was 3 wins for the week and 1 loss. 1 loss overall, so that would be 8-1. So with CAD JPY and Euro USD only, that's 12-1 for the week. Pretty good. I would say, still a choppy time of year to trade. I've been warning everybody about this since October. Not fantastic. You're going to get a lot of volatility. All right now that's happening is one person from the US Fed opens their mouth and you see giant candles with long wicks, and it's just no fun to be in these trades. However, decent for market structure if news isn't really that, what do I want to say, if it's not as, now scratch that, never mind. It's still, market structure trades are still kind of choppy to take as well, just because trends are happening with moves that are kind of counter of what the information is telling us right now. So we got to be smart when taking trades this time of year. Anyway, folks, hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next week.